What's up everyone, Lance Hedrick here, and today we're going to talk about how I brew coffee. I don't have a go-to setup every day since I'm always testing things. And if I'm going to brew coffee and ingest caffeine, I need to be testing something or I need to be trying something new in order to use that time and that caffeine ingestion wisely. But I do of course have go-tos. I'm not always doing crazy things all the time. And so in today's video, I want to talk about my kind of approaches to coffee that I have found I love, kind of my routine coffee experiences if I weren't to be like a content creator or whatever. So I'm going to go over these different approaches to brewing coffee, why I decide on those approaches, what kind of cup profile I can expect, and also what kind of machines that I might use in order to aid me in getting to those cups of coffee that I desire. V60, traditional espresso, the ultra low contact and low contact styles of espresso, which is just, let's just say it's an Uber gusher, and then soup. Those are the four coffees. If I'm in the mood for that, that's what I approach. So with filter, without question, I always use a V60. With my V60s, I really enjoy light tea-like beverages. A lot of you, that's not your jam, but my recipe thankfully can do the same for you that it does for me, in that it can articulate your favorite expression. With filter, I never do anything that's even mildly developed. I like it to be as light as possible, so I love when roasters are kind of pushing the boundaries unless it gets to vegetal. I don't like greens in my coffee. I don't want, asparagus, green beans. That can happen when you roast too light or you just don't tailor the roast properly. The second one is if I'm feeling like a traditional espresso. Thick texture, crema-laden, dark, bitter, chocolatey, caramelly. There's only one coffee I actually buy and only one really style of espresso I pull when I want that. It's the only kind of Italian style dark roast that's properly dark, with Robusta in it even, that I can actually enjoy. The third style would be a very fast style of espresso, barely building any pressure at all. It's these profiles I've talked about in previous videos from a member named Long in the Espresso Aficionado Discord. It is the ultra low contact and the low contact espresso recipes. Again, I'm at filter roast, ultralight roast. You're essentially just soaking the puck, letting it sit for a second, and then pulling water through relatively quickly without letting the puck get too much pressure. Pressure doesn't super matter. The idea is you want fast flow into that cup. And these shots last 12 or 13 seconds. One of the big soapboxes I've taken recently is pull faster shots if you go with light roast. You're gonna get such better coffee, regardless of your machine. Yes, it's better if you have flow control and the capabilities to do all this other stuff, but even on a normal 9-bar machine, pull a fast shot, even if it looks ugly, even if it scares the mess out of you. Figure out where it tastes the best, even if you need to pull a little extra yield, and that's gonna give you some of the best shots of your life. And then lastly, is my new love, my new baby, which is soup. Working on a big video on how to soup, and I'm gonna show you how to do it on lots of different machines. The idea behind this profile that was created was to try to get the clarity, the sweetness, the punchiness, the balance of a filter coffee, but at the concentration of espresso. And so this is something without crema, no pressure being experienced really, and a fast flow through the puck, which gives you these incredible articulations of the cup that you just can't get in other brew methods. It's taken coffees that have been very mediocre to me, that I just didn't touch the bag anymore, to something that I've actually quite enjoyed. Even when you get to the Nordic style roast, which is a bit more developed than the ultralight kind of stuff I enjoy, they taste really nice as soup, lowering the temperature a bit, but I just always prefer kind of ultralight roast coffees to get as much florality, as much tea, as much fruits as possible in that cup. All right, so first up we have a V60. Now I love this decanter, just a big arm on the decanter. I bought it from April, but I love the handle on it. It's really solid. I'm bougie. I like these limited edition Harios that came out recently. The gold one, come on, it's gaudy like me. I love using the medium dark T90s from Cafec. Sybaris would be the highest performing, but it's really stinking expensive. These are much cheaper and they are incredible, and I've been using them exclusively for many years now. I really enjoy them. Even though I get a lot of free Sybaris, I just can't stomach using those and pushing them because how expensive they are for the majority person out there. So I use these T90 filters. I pop that right in. Well, I guess I use a Time More fish kettle, which I don't even know if they make these anymore. They look like this with the variable base temp. I brew around 92 degrees even with the lightest of roasts because you don't need that hot of temperature. You can abstain from bitterness. I love doing a 15 to 250 ratio. That's pretty much always my go-to. So let's take 15 grams of this ultra light Kenya from the Picky Chemist, which is a Belgian roaster. I always like to shut my bags, pulling out as much oxygen as possible. Make sure it's sealed properly. There we go. All right. And then for grinder, I use a few different grinders depending on my situation. Sometimes when I do a big video, I have machines everywhere, unplugged, etc. If all my machines are unplugged, then I go for a hand grinder, which, as you can imagine, tends to be my Pietro with Pro Brew burrs. I love the clarity, I love the sweetness, I love the separation, everything that comes in this, and so I use this very often. I also will use the ZP6 pretty often because sometimes it's already sitting here from something else. So it really depends on just proximity because I tend to be lazy when I'm brewing for myself. Whatever's closer, bing, bang, bong. I also have another Pietro with Pro Brew burrs, and if I have a drill sitting in here, I'll use that and drill it. But other than those two, recently, the only machine that I use now that's actually electronic for grinding for filter is my M98V from Coffeetech, which I just did a video on, you can check out. But this produces absolutely incredible filter coffee. It's not plugged in right now because I did just kind of tidy up. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use the Pietro and we're gonna brew up our V60. Now on the Pietro, I tend to grind between 8 and 9 with stock calibration. So that's what we're gonna do right here. Still think the 078 is the best before diminishing returns, but then 98V for me is better. It hits my flavor profile a bit more, but it's very marginal. Don't run out and try to get a second mortgage on your house just to get the other grinder, because all these are so minimal in the differences. I have brew burrs in my EK43, fantastic, but these coarse burrs in the M98V work with more coffees than the brew burrs do. Brew burrs can get me more clinical precision with clarity, but you have to have like a perfect roast. Honestly, this coffee would be perfect for it because normally you want, with this coffee, for those who drink Picky Chemist, you typically wait, 6 to 8 weeks. This peaked for me at like 2.5 weeks, so I've been going through it quickly. But this would be great on the brew burrs. But anyway, let's brew up this coffee. I have 15 grams in. I got my water to 92, and then I do my bloom of 45 grams. I'm not super calculated in the bloom. I do try to make the stream not break before it hits the bed, but I want it to saturate pretty aggressively the bed. So as you saw, I did my full flow in like 6 seconds for 45 grams. So it's like 8 grams a second of pouring. And then I'm gonna let it sit for anywhere between 45 seconds and 2 minutes, depending on the coffee and my experience with it. When I first start off, it might be 45 seconds to a minute just to see how it's gonna open up. This coffee does well at about a minute bloom, and then I pour the rest of the water in. The water is really saturating the grounds. Obviously, we have a lot that's passed through. That's why we do 3 times the weight. So 45 gram bloom, 15 gram dose, because some of it's going to inevitably pass through. We need water to stay, though, in order to saturate the grounds, open them up for diffusion, which is the main agent of extraction. Then once we get to our time, I start in the center and I pour about this rate. And I'm pouring right before the stream kind of breaks up. I don't want the stream breaking up. I want deep turbulence. So I kind of go in the center. I do one circle around the whole brew, but then I kind of stay in the center and go about the circumference of a euro, something along those lines, where I'm just kind of going around until 250. And then if I see it's drawing down a little too quickly, because I don't want the whole brew done in a minute 40, about 2 minutes is what I aim for. I might give it just a little swirl. A swirl will help slow it down. It flattens the bed out, and it kind of makes it a bit more difficult for the water to pass through. But I usually have the brew finish in around 2 minutes. I'm not super worried about time. If it's 150, it's fine. If it's 210, it's fine. But around that 2 minute mark tends to be where I get most success. Misophonia warning for those that don't like hearing people sip their coffee. I hope you don't go to coffee shops. I'll get you a cup, Google.
Thank you.
Loads of floral honey, black tea. It's really, really sweet, like refined sugar. You get a lot of, like, honestly, like a melon acidity, but you also get some nice, like, lime acidity in there, kind of like a key lime pie. Super sweet, though, floral. That's so good. But this is my probably this is probably my MO. This is my typical kind of approach to coffee. Every day I crave a filter, and every day I brew at least one. That's my setup. Bada bing, bada boom. Let's move on. Next up, we have our dark roast selection. The crema bar from Saka. Like I said, it's like the only true dark roast that I do. Now, it's not true in the sense that it's like sweating oil all over it, but it's still quite dark. I use a Streetman for this lots of the times, but you can do this on like any espresso machine. I've been testing a lot of other machines lately. The Manumint, obviously decent. All these can do a good job, but if I get to choose the espresso machine without feeling guilty that I need to be spending time with something else, it's the Streetman. There's an artistic kind of bond I have to it that is very visual, very, I don't know, there's an appeal to it I really like. So I tend to use this. Makes great coffee with a really small portafilter of 49 millimeters. Gives me a nice deep bed even on small doses, so I can throw back a couple and not feel bad about it. So let's get this brewed up. Now, I will say I almost exclusively use my Coffeetech Monolith Max 3 with SSW burrs in it. Right here when I grind with this. So that is very bougie. I know. I just don't really use anything else for it. I get such nice textured shots out of it and barely any, if any, astringency ever. It's just nice. So that's what I'm going to use here. But obviously you can use a lot of other things. I think I've been very open about the fact I think the Specialita does a great job with dark roasted coffees. That's a freaking eighth of the price. But we're going to use what I use. So Monolith it is. So I'm going to do about 15 grams. Actually, I should probably do, 15 is fine. 15 gram dose. I'm going to pop it right into the Monolith. Now, that's not to say that SSW is only good for dark roast. I just think it also is exceptional with dark roast coffees. For me, at least, I think it does a nice job, or they do a nice job. There we have that. Sell those grounds a bit. 15 is a little too much for this basket, but we're going to make it work. Optimal body with that minimal head space. It's a good thing I actually had 15.2 grams in there, so the little bit that went over the basket, bye-bye. Now, so y'all can see the shot. I actually took this off because there's not much clearance, so y'all can kind of see the drippy droppies in there. Sometimes I don't even use a scale with this. I kind of eyeball it. Somewhere around 1 to 2 is great, but anyway, let's go ahead and lift up. And here we go. Just getting it nice and saturated there. Gonna let it drip for a bit. And then we push pressure. And honestly, that looks about right to me. So I'm gonna stop it right there to get the rest in. So I tend to go just shy of 1 to 2 usually to give it a little bit more of a ristretto feel. Gets a little sweeter for me with this darker roasted coffee. And we just push the rest of the water through. But that is what I tend to go for with this coffee. And of course, take a baby bougie spoon, stir that around. We have our sip. And it's dark roast, baby. This one actually has, like, I sometimes will get this white melon type of acidity, and it's not a lot of acidity, but there's a little bit that's very soft that actually can come through with certain styles of shots. And this one is tasting really nice. But I still get, one of my favorite things about this is a toasted marshmallow, fluffy mouthfeel. All the stuff that you get from something Robusta style. But of course, you can do a 9-bar shot and it's going to be good. I tend to enjoy just that lessening pressure profile. I like to be able to soak the puck, a little pre-infusion kind of thing, and kind of rely on that soak as a big way of telling me that puck's integrity, how hard to kind of push it. But that's real nice. That's real nice. Also note, I'm drinking all this caffeine, so probably by soup time, I'm going to be a little crazy. So be prepared, because we don't fake things here on the Lance Hedrick channel. We drink all the coffees, and I get a little nutty. Now we get into what I guess you could say is more esoteric. If you have a solenoid on your machine and you don't have the capability of flow control or something like that, then I would just recommend doing a gusher style shot, which I do an espresso masterclass on a few videos ago. Go check that out. But essentially just dial your coffee into like a 13 or 14 second 1-to-3 ratio style shot. See if you enjoy it. If it's too sour, bump the ratio up. If it's too watery, bump the ratio down. Play around with that. This is somewhat similar to that, except it's using more programming, more smart machine capabilities to make it enhanced a bit. So I really enjoy these two profiles, low contact, ultra low contact. What I'm going to pull right now is on the Meticulous. This machine is kind of new. It's one of the first kind of production models of it, which of course we'll review in the future. We'll talk more about, but it's just, this is automated. I'm just going to let it go and do its thing. The main thing I want you to watch is the flow, because if you've never seen this style of shot, you're going to think it's wrong, it's poor, it's bad, it's a bad shot, but it's not. I'm also being extra. Y'all know my obsession with smaller portafilters, so I have a conversion kit from Swartz. This is just a 58 millimeter portafilter, but it has a shower screen in it, so that acts as a shower screen. Then I can use a 49 millimeter portafilter. This is a washed Gesha Ecuador from Picky Chemist. I just got an order from Picky Chemist, so what are you gonna do? All right, so I'm gonna do right at 15 grams again. I don't have like a go-to machine really when it comes to this. It's whatever is plugged in, whether it's my Decent or this, or like I said, a DeLonghi Stylosa. I can replicate this pretty well. It's a bit harder because you have to get the boiler, like release some water to have a cooler temp. That's one of the big things, is cooler temps when it comes to this profile, down in the 80s. Like if I have the Quick Mill out, or if I have a Rancilio out, I'll just do a gusher style shot at a low temperature. And that's good enough for me, to be honest with you. It's better when I can have full programming capabilities, but I'm too lazy to pull a machine out if I already have a machine plugged in from testing. I'm going towards this 9 times out of 10 unless I'm doing soup, okay? I've tried a lot of the other profiles that people tend to enjoy, the Turbo, the Extractamundo Dos, all these things. These are the ones that just benefit me the best. All right, we've got our coffee situated. Our water's at that 82-ish degree temp. The target's 84. I don't really care if it's a little bit below, so I'm actually going to have it brew now. We're just going to start the brew. Okay, there, it was at 82 right when we started. Sweet. All right, so pistons retracting. You can do this again on most any machine, especially if you don't have a solenoid. It makes it a lot easier. But here we go. It's going to be a really fast shot, so watch this. I mean, look at that. A lot of people, that's not espresso. Well, fine, it's not espresso. I don't care. All right, so we did that in like 9 or 10 seconds. It's a little faster than what I normally brew, but that's because I normally do it on Decent, and these are different machines. Vibratory pump takes a bit longer to fill up the head space before it's able to start extracting. This one, head space is immediately done. It's immediately filled when the piston's up, so tend to go a little faster on the Meticulous. But anyway, let's take a little sip. And when I say there's crema, I just mean there's a faint wispy crema looking top. On soup, there's none of that. So on this, there's that faint looking little bit of crema because it did hit some pressure, but also I'm using ultralight roast, so there's not gonna be much crema anyway. But anyway. That's absolutely sublime. A big misconception is that crema equals body, and that body equals crema. That's simply not accurate. Now we're going to get a little nerdy here on a little rant, a little tangent. Recently at Ohio State University, there was a sensory science study, and I actually presented part of this paper in a previous video, but in it, they were looking at the mechanoreceptors on your tongue. So what is a mechanoreceptor? You have these in your hands, on your tongue. There's obviously not a chemical reaction going on when I put a scale on my hand. The coldness or the weight of it, the impact, that's all from mechanoreceptors, think mechanical. You push and you feel that receptor. Same thing on your tongue. Heat, pressure on your tongue, things poking your tongue, all of that, all of those things, that is from mechanoreceptors. And boom, we have the lipids, the polysaccharides in crema. People are like, well, obviously that's pushing down. It's affecting our mechanoreceptors. That's how we get to the body. But we have to remember to separate what crema is doing and how that's affecting our tongue from full texture, full mouthfeel, full body. There's a lot more going on than just that. And what they showed in this Ohio State study, more than just a physical response to the environment. So instead of just pressure and temperature and the things like that, they're also able to interact chemically with things going on in your mouth. Meaning there are chemical interactions between the beverage you are sipping and those receptors, which can also affect your taste experience regarding mouthfeel. Oh yeah, that is the stuff right there. 2 cups of drip coffee or filter coffee. Same recipe, same TDS, but different beans. Let's say they're both 1.44%, whatever it is. You sip one, and you're like, That's kind of watery, kind of thin. It's fine though. You sip the other. Wow, that has like a milky texture. That's so heavy. They're the same concentration. They don't have crema on them. They're filter coffee. You filtered it out through paper. Well, it's because we have these different chemical reactions going on in our tongue that is not covered by just lipids and polysaccharides and physical things inside of crema. There are more things going on that attribute to body texture, mouthfeel. So we cannot equate crema to texture or mouthfeel. Does it have a part in that? Absolutely. That's why I do enjoy drinking that Italian style espresso every now and then. That is something you can't really replicate. That foamy, cloudy texture can't really be replicated. But you can still get a heavy, thick, syrupy, maple-like, engrossing yogurty mouthfeel without any crema at all. So this actually get a very milky type of texture, like whole milk. It's very settling on the tongue. It's very enveloping around it. It's very round and it coats. It's fantastic. And it was only 8 seconds, but we're still hitting 18 to 20% extraction. I've done loads of testing on this. Even at 9-10 seconds, you're getting more than adequate extraction. Yes, you don't get crema, but guess what? Crema holds some of the most bitter components coffee can ever offer. Don't believe me? Pull your shot and scoop the crema and taste it. Does that mean crema is bad? No. But crema is not some end-all be-all that you must have in your coffee to have a delicious experience, okay? And I'm not the only one who says this. Go look up Daddy Hoff. He said this years ago, okay? So don't sit there and act like I'm weird. Anyway, by the way, I had to pull another shot for the video because Ugo stole the first one. He said, I'm drinking this. And I was like, fine, you can have it. I'll make another one. Jeez Louise. Anyway, gotta finish this. Ecuadorian geisha as ULC. EG1 with ULF burrs is almost the only thing I use when I'm making these, unless, I guess if it's not plugged in. I have been known to use the Linglong 64mm multi-purpose burrs, and I use the Zerno for these style shots as well with the multi-purpose burrs in it. But honestly, 9 times out of 10, I'm using the EG1 with ULF burrs. I've just found that's the perfect synthesis. It makes everything kind of hit. But I will say there is a more tightness to it that we're going to be able to alleviate with soup. So this one does experience pressure. It goes under more emulsification, a specific espresso intensity than what soup will give us. Yes, soup is intense, which we'll get to in a second, but not like this. I want to address really quickly, that video where I introduced It Made Waves, people got all upset. One of the things that really did annoy me in the comments, apart from people saying I spray tan, no I don't, farmer's tan baby. I don't spray tan. What the frick was that? I just live in the sun, baby. No, but other than that is, oh, it looks like there's so many steps. Cleanup is so difficult. It's so much easier on the AirPress. Okay, you're done with the AirPress, right? You have to twist off the cap. You pop that into the waste bin. Then you got to take a rag. You wipe off the piston, or you should put it under the sink and wipe it off. Then you wipe off this from any grounds that could be there. Then you place it back, and you're done. With this, when you're done, because everything is separated, watch, you ready? You ready? You pull this off, tap, tap, you wipe with a rag. It's the same exact process, except I don't have to wipe the plunger here because there's no plunger, it's just a water dispersion screen. I was like, what are you getting at? There's so many things to unscrew. There's literally 2. That's it. Like, where do you get off? Where do you get off? Anyway, that's enough of that. Okay, so, by the way, I am in talks with them. Hopefully we can get an all-metal one soon, but we'll see about that. Anyway, soup, not just an OXO-specific thing. You can do this with a lot of different machines, and I will show that coming up. I'm waiting on a few things to arrive here. An AirPress stock can't really do soup. You have to have some sort of flow control thing, so I'm getting the Joe Presso coming in, which is going to emulate an espresso basket on it, essentially. I have a Compresso coming. I'm going to do it on a Wakeiko Pico Presso, on a direct lever machine. You can do it on a lot of things, flow control machines. So we're going to do that coming soon so everyone can experience soup, because I promise you, go look at the testimonies on my recent soup video with the OXO Rapid Brewer. You're going to be like, wow, there are people who wanted to prove me wrong. They got an OXO, and people were like, I'm annoyed how good this was and how easy it was. If you get the grind size anywhere near correct, so that when you pour it in, maybe it drips a little bit, but not really before you saturate, that's all you really have to look for. And then you just go to town on it. People are like, this is some of the best coffee I've ever had. So I'm just saying. It saves coffee too. All right, so I have a recipe with the AirPress that will save old, crappy coffee, whatever it is. This, just in its nature, will make bad coffee taste better. So I'm actually using a really off-roast and open little sample bag of a Kenya from a while ago just to kind of like do it. It's a great Kenya when it's been properly sealed. This is from about 2 months ago, so it's just been sitting there. But anyway, what I like to do is a paper filter sandwich. You don't really have to do that, but I like to do a paper filter on the bottom and then one on top of the grounds. Now, I've seen some people say AirPress filters, they experience like a choking type of thing that goes on where it doesn't really flow very well. I've not experienced that. That being said, I do prefer Chemex filter papers, but I'm way too lazy to hole punch them. So essentially, what I mean by hole punching them is you can get something like this. You can take Chemex filter papers and you can punch them out. Now you may say, oh, I could do that with my V60s. Those are too soft. You need a more rigid paper like Chemex and this works. But then you're wasting a lot of paper that's not being cut. And you can also cut like the Wattmans, which these can do some crazy things with it as well. Except they're not. I don't think they're like food safety certified or something, but you can also do like Alstrom, all these different, things. But honestly, a lot of times, not every time, but a lot of times I just use AirPress filters because guess what? They fit and I have a ton of them. So easy. All right. So all I'm doing with this is I'm gonna get water. I'm gonna have it at 99 because it's gonna lose some temperature going in here. Then I'm gonna take my little dose cup, take some of this poorly stored coffee. I like 22 grams. Now, there are some mods that people are doing, and hopefully we can get OXO to do this stock, but where you can add a basket in here. And if I were able to get like a smaller basket, like, a 46, 48, 49 millimeter basket down here, then I could use less coffee and have the depth that is needed to make really nice coffee. I've not really enjoyed shots below 22 grams on this because it's like 62 millimeters, so it's bigger than a 58 millimeter basket. 22 seems to be the lowest. Now, I'm not grinding espresso fine, so it's a little thicker, the bed is, than 22 grams of espresso dose. Make sense? The coarser the grounds, the higher the bed. Anyway, so with this, I almost always use my EG1 as well with the ultra low fines, but I very often will use my Pietro and my ZP6 similar to filter. Those are both great options. 078 does a great job, and I've used the M98V, which does a fantastic job. But usually I do soup a lot more than most other things, and so my EG1's typically set to soup, like setting a spaceship to like hyper speed. It's set to soup almost all the time. So I just, for convenience, I just toss it in there and we soup. We got our water ready. We got this going. We need decanter. Now, thankfully, the decanter that comes with it is a plastic one. I like it, I'm a little bougie. It fits perfectly, the bottom of this, to the Sense carafe. Like, bang, set straight into it. Now, some people have been like, oh, can't you break it? Listen, people are putting like 5 bar of pressure on an AirPress over glass. That scares me more than pumping on this glass. It's completely fine. Anyway. That's from Oria, the Sense carafe. Again, not affiliated. This is just stuff that I use. This video, we're just doing stuff I genuinely use. Yeah, so. All right, so I get the grounds, shake it, toss it in, bada bing, bada boom, bada bang. Then I level it out, give it a little tippy-tappy good ice cream. Take the little tamper. We push that bad boy in, and we just tamp it nice, flat, and compact. Put that back to the side. And we put a top paper filter on. Okay. Now, we screwed on. Look, we're ready to go. Again, non-affiliated, but Fused Visions. I thought this was brilliant. I love my Buku scale, but it's too small for pour-overs. This thing acts as a heat sink because with pour-overs, the thing can get too hot, can mess with the scale. So it acts as a heat sink, and it expands the surface area. Love it. All right, now we got our water, and we're just going to pour in about 82 grams. This is where I kind of like it with this coffee, or with most coffees that are light. There we go. Then we pull this off. Look, this is not hard at all. In the same way you put a plunger on, you're just screwing this on. It's the same thing. So then the first thing we do is we're just going to slowly, nicely saturate that. And I'm watching to make sure that whole bottom of the basket is saturated. And it looks like we have pretty good coverage. So that's the most important part, is the saturation. Now, you can either go chop crazy or you can just feel the back pressure. And there we go. Look at that. That's like... How fast is that? Okay? Oh, it takes longer than an AirPress. No, it freaking doesn't. I don't know what everyone they're just so sensitive these days. Look at that. Thick, dark. It's almost like soy sauce, genuinely. Soy sauce, that's another thing that's thick that doesn't have crema, right? That hits that mouthfeel intensely. So let's get a cup. Let's get this little cutesy boy. And look at this. Oh, so thick. So now we've got our soup. And we sip it. that is tangerine, that is grapefruit, that is like pink florals, that is sweet, that is juicy, that has a nice coating sensation, that is mouth expanding, that is, honestly, there's a little bit of like effervescence about it, almost like at the end, like like a sparkling water. There's like an effervescence that's going on my tongue. Ugo needs to try it, as always. Come on, Ugo. There's also like a sweet pie crust kind of thing going on with it. Ooh. And that, I don't even know how, that's probably been sitting there since I first opened it to test it. Eyes closed. That's what Ugo's response is. Y'all can't see him, I can, so. Your loss. Oh, I forgot to show you how to clean this. We're done, right? We're done with it. You ready for this? It's so complicated, guys. It's so complicated. 1, 2 screws, okay? All right. Look, there's not even grounds in there because I used 2 paper filters. But if you really wanted, watch. Oh, it's clean. And guess what? No coffee gets here. Isn't that wild? And then you just do this. Oh my God. And then watch. If you want to be extra, watch. Oh my goodness. So difficult. And then we got our cute little Puck Sammy here. Look at this. So cute. Right in between our paper filties. Almost went in my coffee, but it didn't. Well, now it's more of a pain in the bum to clean. Normally I would tap it in the frickin' grounds thing, but we have to end with a little bit of a mess. Messy, messy, messy. Name that video or that movie down below. If you're a real one, you'll know. That's how I brew coffee at home. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please show the support by hitting the like, hitting subscribe if you haven't. Maybe share the video. I don't know, do something. That really helps. If you want to join my Patreon to have some dope constant live chats that I do in the Discord there, where we hop on live, we do some brewing, do some chatting. Check out my Discord through my Patreon down below. All that good stuff, whatever. You do what you want to do. But anyway, I hope that you enjoyed the video. But most importantly, regardless of the grinder you have, the brewer you have, the coffee you have, the style of approach of like brewing your espresso or filter you do, mocha pot, espresso, whatever it is, the thing I hope more than anything, genuinely, is that you brew something tasty today. And cheers. Don't forget to subscribe.